Hello and welcome to episode 3. What you're going to see today should be a little more hands-on and involved than what I've shown in the past episodes, because what I'm going to be working on today is sorting out running the wiring and trying to get it all up towards the tray and sorted and arranged in a way that keeps it tucked out of the way. So with this, I'm probably going to have some closer up like iPhone shots that will do a better job showing specifically where I'm running things, how I'm trying to tuck them, and give you a better idea of what might work out. Now, I'm not going to suggest that I'm doing this in the best way or the flawless way or whatever. I'm going to do what I can that works, and I'm going to go from there.
So the first thing I've done here is this is the Evap canister that generally sits under the Airbox. And then these two hoses come up from either side. This is Evap purge valve, I believe, and this is your rollover valve. Anyway, rollover valve is connected to this hose here. And then the Evap valve actually also hangs out here and has a tubing that runs up and into the throttle bodies here. And then this is the plug where your Evap disabler is going to go after the fact. So I've pulled these out with the canister. I'm going to label this stuff up and then I'm going to start tucking it. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna remove this bracket, which was initially holding on a couple pieces of the finishers for the throttle bodies. Now it's holding this plug too. So I'm gonna pull this bracket off, find a place to kind of relocate this plug here. What I've wound up doing in this area here, I've got the bracket out of the way. That plug that was mounted to it is now tucked down here, and I'll talk about it in a second. But first, this was the incoming air pressure sensor. Now, the best advice that I've gotten is that it's cool to park it right here between the two filters. What I actually did was I took a bolt and I have mounted it on one of the holes that was used for that bracket that I removed. And I had to peel back some of the wiring loom to get to that, so I'm gonna tape that up, make sure that's good and tidy. But so that's what I've done. I have bolted it there, fixed it in place, and then I ran the wires for this other plug. I ran along those, zip tied in a couple of places. It's here, which should be hidden really by the filter anyway, but just in case, there was this little bracket down here with a little hole on it. I've zip tied that wire back just to keep that pulled neat and tidy up against everything there. As you can see, I've now got the rider's left side pretty much tidied up. I'm not gonna tell you that this is simple or stress-free. Small steps at a time and, plugging away at it, has it chipped out. So now I've got this area under here pretty sorted out. I've got rider's left side pretty well sorted. Tomorrow, I suppose I'll move on to rider's right, which looks like a huge mess now, but honestly, that's what the left looked like when I started this evening.
All right, so this is my second night of wiring. Last night went pretty well. I got the left side more or less buttoned up. So today I'm gonna move over to the right side and press forward with it. In all, the left side yesterday took me about 2 hours. I have no idea what I'm gonna get for the right side, so we'll see.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy.
It's your boy Willie P coming at you from the garage for day 3. Alright, so I'm out here for a third day of work on the wiring loom, essentially, at this point. What I did last night was separated all the plastic covers and all of that, got it broken down into the free wires. Then I loosely fit the tray into place, ran all that wiring up here, and started messing around to see kind of what I'm going to do up here. What I learned from that is that, one, I'm actually having some small fitment issues with the tray. There's a part of my frame that it's butting against, and I just think that you're gonna run into that type of thing working on a bike like this, especially when you start dealing with the frame. And I mean, what we're talking about here in the end, I'm like a 1/4 inch off on some mounting bolts on the back. On one side of the bike, I'm bumping against some tabs that sit there. So I'm gonna kind of do some Dremel work and massage that, make that fit today. So once I get a good fit on the tray, then I'm gonna start laying the wiring out in it. What I know I'm gonna have left is that I've got to extend the battery leads on both sides. And I think what I'm gonna do is actually run all new leads on both sides just to make sure they're long enough, not doing any splicing, especially when you're talking about the starter side of things and the amperage that has to go and get pushed through that to start the bike.
So here's what I was talking about fitment wise. The tray has tabs that come up here, and you're going to run the bolt for the tank through that to hold the front in place. The rear has a tab that a flap really that is just going to sit on top of these two bolts here, which were originally used to hold in the back of the airbox. The little tab that nut is welded onto is making contact with the back of my tray just enough to keep the holes from aligning up here. So I'm gonna take a Dremel and I'm gonna grind down this tab and then put the tray back in, see if I can get it to fit that way. All right, guys, I've still got plenty to do, but it's so good looking. Like this is fantastic. This is taking a lot of time. I am not almost done. I'm getting there. Like progress is being made, good progress, solid progress. It's slowing down a little bit, but man, just freaking look at it. Oh, this is great. It's great, it's great, it's great. So stoked. That whole tray just tucks up in there so nicely. And when it's black, it just completely disappears. Got tape on it because I already dropped it once because I'm a moron, but man, it looks good. I want to take a quick second and highlight how the left side wound up wrapped up. This is a semi-permanent solution. It's probably how things will stay, at least until I get the bike running. Starting from the bottom, you have the main loom that comes up, and there's a plug for the quick shifter. I put this connector, I wrapped it around the back, put it there because the other place it naturally kind of sits is down here, and it was a little more visible, so I've kind of tucked it that way. From there, it's pretty straightforward. I took everything I could, bound it as close together as I can, and slowly ran everything up to the bottom of the tank. There's also this connector here, which that's the kind of thing later I may extend the leads here so that I can tuck the connectors up further in the bike. If you look over here, this wire actually comes up from the left side here. It was kind of getting down around the swing arm pivot. So I tethered it to this to keep it out of the way of that. And then right behind this joint in the frame, I pinched everything together once there. I pinched it together a couple other times as it headed up. And then I also took that whole bulk and wrapped this bigger zip tie around the engine mount here with the point of holding it against the frame and then back and hiding behind it. All of that runs up to where it eventually pops out of the top of the frame. I actually have the tank back on right now. But in the end, this will all hide pretty good. This is the ABS connector, which will still actually sit up in there, connect to the other half of the ABS here. So that should be okay. This is my air temperature sensor, which will wind up sitting in the front of the tray, tether all that up, and that'll be pretty clean. It'll get a little bulky here. I may be able to shift some of that around. We'll have to see what happens. The only other thought I have here is that The ground lead has to be extended. After talking with Rish, I think that's gonna need to be a single wire the whole way. Right now, it runs down, and then it actually connects to the frame right here, and this little cover is supposed to pop on it. They just kind of snap on, so mine popped off when I was doing all this. So beware that can happen.
Back out here for day 4 of fooling with the wiring, and the last couple days my brother was in town, so I was taking it kind of easy, so I am dragging this part out just a bit. Tonight, what I'm going to try and do is get the tray sorted out, get everything kind of in place where Rish has his set up. I'll do a little different camera work. I think I'm going to try and put the camera over it. So we're going to shoot for that tonight. I would like to have the tray sorted here in the next half hour or so. From there, I've got to get new battery leads, but my Evap plug should be in this week. So once I get that in, I want to connect the battery via the stock leads, give it a test fire. If everything starts now, that's a good starting point. Then I'll swap the leads. If it doesn't start then, I know it's something I did with the leads. And after that, I can start some cleanup work. So we'll see how that goes.
So for these brackets that go here and hold the front of the Airbox, they've got 3 supports, so you're gonna have to cut them in 3 places. I'll come up over the top, and what I did here, as you can see, I cut the right as high up as I could, get as much of it out of the way as possible. The middle one, I didn't want to cut in that bend because it would still be visible from the side. So I actually cut it from below. So you can see that this portion is still connected to the part that holds the tank. So I didn't want to weaken that any more than I needed to. So I went ahead and cut through the big bulk of the metal right here so that I could still have this attachment point for the tank support. And I wanted to leave as much material there as possible. And I did the exact same thing over here on the mirror side. So point 1 up here high, point 2 down where it's hidden, and then point 3 through the metal, leaving the connection point. And then I ground off those edges as best I could. Also with the Dremel, you know, just to try and keep a smoother edge and not get cut later. So here's what I've done for where the tank mounts to the frame, like closest to the seat. The bolt that holds the seat and your new tray in place will go through this rod from the factory, and you've got these 2 little grommets here with the little mushroom caps. Those no longer fit because we've taken up a lot of space where the tray goes. So I've cut the caps off the mushrooms, but kept these spacers. You can see over here what I was just talking about, how much space we've taken. This was where it used to go, and now I've got a lot less room with the tray. So I've cut this down to length that'll hopefully fit. And so I'm gonna put the grommets in here, and I'm gonna put the rod through there, and that'll just help with the alignment of everything and help keep the tank from moving around. After getting the tray sorted, we're in a position where the right and left sides are cleaned up, all of the wiring loom is connected, and the battery is in. What I have left to do is install the Evap delete kit and make my new battery cables. There's a week break here while I wait on parts, so that's where we'll call this episode. Thanks for sticking around so far, and I hope you'll come back for the concluding episode.
Have you seen, it's your boy, Skinny Peanuts?
We'll have to make sure that this makes it in the Final cut.
Oh, you're already filming?
Am I actually? Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's your boy Skinny Willie. What's up?